Good evening everybody, it's Dev from the Modernist Colourist. I've got a few things for you tonight just to have a quick look at. I've got a couple of requests for a couple of flip throughs which I'm going to do relatively quickly, but I'm going to go through each page. Recently, whilst working away, I managed to come across a Hobbycraft in the south of England, near to London where I was working. So I've picked a few bits up from there. I've received my first ever piece of Happy Meal. And in addition to that, I just want to show you some other bits and bats that I've been inspired from by other channels. So, let's just crack on then. And first of all, I've had a request to have a flip through of the Hannah Lynn Christmas colouring book, the Whimsy Girls Christmas colouring book. Now, everybody knows Hannah Lynn by now. There are two pages of each image, and I'll start at the beginning. The title page starts off with a nice little drawing in the middle, and then obviously it tells you about Hannah Lynn's illustrations. Then we have all the thumbnails, and then we have a little few colouring tips, which tells you there are 4 to 5 sheets behind at the back of the book that you can use to formalise yourself with the tooth of the paper and try and get the right medium that you want to use in the book. So, I'm not going to go into detail of each image because they're quite self-explanatory, but they are very cute images. As you can see, we have quite a variance of images as well. We've got the girl in the woods here, we've got the pixie girl here with a fairy door in the background, and then we have, let's have a look, we have the ice skating girl. Actually, it looks as though there is snow on these trees. I was watching a tutorial, I think it was last night actually, Colour My World, I think it's called Colour My World. The artist's name, or the host's name, is Laurie. I find her extremely helpful, and she rustled one of these trees up in no time, and it looked absolutely spectacular. So if you've not checked her out, go and check her out. I certainly will be having a go at the tree the way she did it. Then you've got one baking, I presume. You've got all the implements in the pocket. You've got the gingerbread men in the background. So yeah, there are lots of cute images in this book, as you can see there. I don't actually know if that's a mermaid or not. It could quite well be. I think it might be because there's a fish poking its head out of the Christmas tree. Then you've got Santa and a little girl excited for Christmas. You've got a depiction of Mother Mary. Let it be. Let it be. Very cute baby animals here. Sheep, donkey, rooster. Then you've got an image here with a snowman. You've got one here with a Christmas tree. That also might be a mermaid again. Another Christmas tree, a garnier or a wreath in the background. And you've got this girl with a massive list ticking off all the presents. Then you have this very sultry lady here, with Santa in the background going across the moon or sun, whichever way would have it. And you got this girl here wearing a tam o' shanter, which could be done in, you know, official or traditional, should I say, tartan colours. You got this little, actually looks like a cat, but it's got long ears, so I'm not going to embarrass myself by guessing what that is. It could be a rabbit, I'm not sure. And then we have an angel type figure with one of the reindeer, or baby reindeer. And we have a landscape picture which says "Joy to the World," and it's got a lady in earmuffs, snowflakes, and it's got some notes. Be interesting to see if you could play them. And then we have another winged fairy, all Christmased up. Then we have this girl with the antlers, freckles on the nose, and then it's got this it's got this really small poultry tree here. Look, I don't know if you can see it. Let me just bring it into camera. With one bauble on it. That's quite comical. Tinkerbelly fairy type character there. Girl been out shopping, laden down with bags, obviously being out spending the grass. You got this girl inside the wreath here, or mirror image. It could be a mirror actually. Then we have a girl and her little sister, possibly, and a pony pulling a sled. They've done a little snowman and they're just leaving the house by the look of things. So Hannah Lynn seems to really be able to draw that Christmas spirit in by looking at these. This looks like a scene from Christmas morning. Girls opening the presents, stripy pyjamas and a massive tree. You've got the ballerina girl with a teacup, marshmallows on top, probably a hot chocolate in there. She's sprinkling dust on actually. So that's either fairy dust or it's sugar, that kind of thing. Then you got this image with the trees in the background, inside a wreath. That's definitely a wreath. Baby lamb and the girl floating on a cloud. Then you have the mermaid again with a polar bear. She's sleeping on the polar bear with the baby polar bear here. A very small Christmas tree. Then we have a bit of a posy picture with plenty to colour in the background. Not really sure. I think that's just some conifers in the background. Then you got this girl with the Christmas jumper on. All the decorations in the background, that'd be fab to colour. And another hot chocolate there. A partridge in a pear tree makes an appearance with this girl dressed all in a winter clothing with a tag on it, "From me to you," as John Lennon once said. And that's about it for the book. I mean, you know what you're getting with Hannah Lynn, don't you, really? Her designs are very cute. Her designs are very much in the theme of the time of year. And that was a specific shout out. It was a request. So I was more than happy to do that, as I did say I would do. Okay. So I'll just pop that down there for the moment. This Albrecht Durer book was extremely popular in respect of asking for requests and flip throughs for it. So obviously I've done that. I've had a little bit of homework into Albrecht Durer. It is pronounced Albrecht Durer. The reason why we all know that name is because the name has been associated with Faber-Castell, as in the watercolour pencils, and the various other things that they've also tuned his name to. The reasons why are that Faber-Castell formulated the company that is in the mid to late 1700s, which was just shortly after Albrecht Dürer had died. However, they're quite synonymous as a company being very patriotic to German culture and German famous people. They've got a Karl Lagerfeld, who is a fashion designer and perfumery manufacturer. They've done all the Faber-Castell pencils in a Karl Lagerfeld box set that you can buy. And then, of course, Albrecht Dürer is a very famous German artist, so they've adopted the name through that method, through patriotism. So, you've probably heard me rant on about these pomegranate books before. They're extremely, extremely well made. You certainly get what you pay for. I won't read this bit to you because obviously if anyone's thinking of buying the book, then they want to read that themselves. But how it started was that Albrecht Dürer was one of 18 children, believe it or not. His father was a really, really successful goldsmith and jewellery designer. Albrecht quite clearly showed he was very good at that at a young age, but he was more good at doing the drawing side of things. But he was also very much inspired by mathematics and science, as a lot of the Renaissance artists were at that particular time, Da Vinci being probably the most famous one. So a lot of Albrecht Dürer's books in his later years were about measurements and proportions and that kind of thing in art. He was obsessed by spacing and putting things that were in proportion to everything else and trying to make symmetrical backgrounds and that kind of thing. It was almost like an OCD with him. So he started out cutting, engraving and doing that sort of stuff in various metals and wood. But as he got older, he then became associated with the Renaissance artists like Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci. And I think that's what then catapulted him into those sort of cataclysmic heights of being one of the Renaissance famous artists. One of his famous, I don't know if it's going to be in this book, but one of his famous etchings, if you like, was of Adam and Eve. Now, I think, reading in between the lines, don't quote me on this, but I think Albrecht Dürer fell out with the church at some point in his life. And I think the Adam and Eve portrayal that he did became quite a thing of its time, because obviously it was very, very insolent in those days to even question the church. So he was quite a character by the sound of it, and was very much his own man. This AD here you'll probably recognise. I don't know if I'll have to hold that up possibly. Each one of his designs has this A with a D in the middle of it. That is his signature, and I think you'll find that that's on the pencils as well. So Faber-Castell have really tried to, to plummet all this heritage into their pencils, and with them being a top-selling brand anyway, they could only go one way as far as artists are concerned. So image one, you've got, I'm not going to quote you on all the, let me just have a look at the list. I won't give you the correct detail, the correct titles of every single one, because there's 50 of them, and I'll have to keep referring back to the index at the front, because they're not sort of titled anywhere other than at the front. But as you can see, they're very, very detailed. The paper is very smooth, but it has a tooth. It's good quality paper. It would take pencils excellentness, especially a sharp one with light strokes. So you've got the horseman here with bow and arrow. You've got this guy here who looks like he is dead almost. You've got all this sort of warfare going on. There's people on the floor, there's heads hanging around, and then there's an angel flying over the top, obviously overseeing matters and what's going on. The amount of colour that could be put into that picture is just immense. So yeah, that's a good opener. And then we have this this beast with all the heads. I am going to try and see if I can see what that is called. This is called the Apocalyptic Woman. So it doesn't mention the beast here. That's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 heads. It seems to be, I thought it was vomit for a while there. Excuse me. No, that's actually, I think it's portraying the exhalation of the animal. Then you've got the angel here. There's 2 up here, a cherub there and an angel here. And then you've got what must be a depiction of God or something similar there in the clouds. All these kind of stuff in the Renaissance had hidden meanings, and I'm not going to, you know, try and guess what they all mean, because they could go either way, I guess. But the artwork is astonishing. I mean, if you look at the detail and not only the detail, but obviously this was an age where there was no internet, no television, nothing. So to conjure these kind of ideas in your head without having seen anything like that, like we do on a regular basis. I mean, we see all sorts on the TV, don't we? You know, we have all these images that we can check up on the internet and this, that and the other. I mean, this is a guy in the 1500s who has probably only ever seen a book, and he's coming up with, you know, imagery like this. It just shows what an imagination he actually had when you look at the detail in depth. You've got some warfare going on here in the clouds, and then what looks to be like a really peaceful village underneath. So it's all going off upstairs, and notes happening downstairs by the look of it on that one. And then this is incredibly fine detail. You know, you would have to get fine liners out and very sharp pencils and that kind of thing. But you know, you've got this big warfare going on again. You know, you've got injured people on the floor, you've got swords, you've got breathing fire dragons in the sky that are actually forming clouds with the breath. Then you've got this trumpeter at the top who's got angel wings, and then probably the image of God again at the top, you know, overseeing events, which, you know, it's unbelievable really how somebody can come up with these images with no sense of reference. That's the amazing thing about this book. You know, these are done, what, 580 years ago. Excuse me. You know, before all of this has just been conjured up in his mind, which I think's it's amazing. So you've got the scapegoat here. I think that's what they're trying to say here. And then you've got all these people in tall grass looking up at the scapegoat. There's obviously a meaning again behind that, but who's to know what that is? And then you've kind of got this again where you've got this, you know, it shows you the tranquil, peaceful village below, different to the other one, and then up above it, going on in the heavens, as you would imagine, you've got all these winged beasts, you've got the angels again, you've got who I think he's trying to make out to be God sat in the throne, and all these people giving him offerings round the side. So you've got all this mayhem going on up here, and then you've got this just one little solo fishing boat here, and this really peaceful, tranquil scene at the bottom. You know, that really does kind of, you know, it goes from one extreme to the other. It just shows what type of imagination that the artist had. And then we've got this godlike figure again in the sky. You've got somebody bowing before him with two hands pressed on his knees. That's possibly Jesus. I don't want to offend anybody. You know, I don't know what the correct explanation for the image is. So if that does offend anybody, I do apologise. But it looks as though that he's kneeling to his father, and there are what looks to be kind of sparks and fireworks coming out of his hand. So he's controlling something, and then he's showing a page of the book. It doesn't. There is writing on the book, but it doesn't tell you exactly what it says. It's too fine. So there's obviously some kind of lesson being learned here in some form or another. And then we have again another peaceful town in the background, and then in the forefront here we've got a dragon sat down. We've got this weary looking angel with wings that's holding a big massive key, possibly to the castle here. And then you've got two other angels deep in conversation, almost looking over at the plan of attack, so to speak. Amazing artwork, it really is. Moving on again, you've got, you know, a lot of it's self-explanatory, you know, meaning that you can see what's here. You've got the angel in the sky again. You've got this really weird, what looks like an emu till it gets to about there, or a griffin, and then it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 heads, you know, all resembling some kind of bird, but different ones each time. I mean, you know, this is like 1500s Animorphia, this. You know, he really has done himself proud with this. Then you've got all these people below who seem to be in anguish, holding their heads, crying, and then you've got this like blaze of fire going up to the sky. The sun's on the left, the moon's on the right, both with faces in, both angry. And then you've got all these characters around God again. Looks to be some form of displeasure here to the maximum. So again, I'm not going to generalise and assume what that means. Here he is again, top of the pile, you know, his minions round him. Again, another amazing piece of artwork. The detail is just beyond belief, in my opinion. I mean, I know I keep saying it, but who the hell thinks of something like this in those times with no form of reference, you know? This is a more simplistic one. You've got, which could be the birth of Christ, I'm not 100% sure, but you've got a Mary-looking lady here, you've got a baby, in a crib. There's an angel there. I'm not sure if these are like wise men or not, but they are bearing gifts. It's possibly, they probably are, because that's a star, isn't it? So that's possibly a depiction of the birth of Christ. And then you have this absolutely stunning grayscale image here of this really old teaked house, sort of stone built, stained glass windows, and then you've got the oddities that's just splayed around the room. You've got the skull here. You've got this very unique antique lamp hanging from the ceiling. There's an old man doing some writing. There's two animals here. I wouldn't like to say what they are. I mean, this looks like a lion, but it's got I don't know. It's got a weird looking face anyway. So you know, it could be his interpretation of a lion. You don't know. And then same man again in this unique room with all the oddities on the shelves. That looks a lot more like a lion than the last picture did. And then of course he's busy away scrolling or etching. It could be himself in that image. And then you've got the same guy again who is writing down, possibly, it's possibly Albrecht Durer with his fascination for measurement, because you've got scaled instruments here, and I've noticed that there's Christ on his crucifix here, and then the lions accompanying the man again. Fascinating what would have been going through Albrecht's mind at this time. Again, another absolutely fantastic grayscale image. You've got the lion again, who's grown hair, it's now very, very long. You've got the man again, who's now robeless, and he's just praying by the look of things. And this lion seems to be a very, very loyal companion in all his journey. Now these two here, I know from looking up, these two are depictions of some etchings in silver that he did. You've got the griffin here, and then you've got the man playing the drums with the suits of armour in the background. This was all done on silver. And then you've got a few more here. You've got the Pope on this one. And then back to the drawings and paintings. You've got an odd looking, really odd looking monkey here. Then you've got this this little boy here, chubby boy, that's eyeing up this suit of armour. And then you've got the man in the main image. So good. I don't know who that is. I would imagine, looking at him, it's one of the Italian Renaissance leaders of that time. There's a lot of Latin writing here. It does mention Caesar Augustus, which I'm not sure if it's the original Caesar or not, but it could be a play with, again, with Albrecht's mind, because like I say, he's not very straightforward in coming forward, is he, at all? Then you have this this mobile cart with all these oddities on it. You've got the plump angels. You have actually got the Romans with the leaves in the hair here, and then you've got what looks to be a king and queen, and it's being pushed by some kind of centurion along with bells on it. Amazing stuff. This is one of his famous works, the Rhinoceros. This what he did with this and it was used, if I'm not mistaken, it was used, this particular same image was used in art lessons in Germany throughout history, and those lessons were proportion lessons on getting things right to the nth degree, and I think this was done on a piece of either bronze or silver with just a sharp implement. I mean, the detail in it is phenomenal. That is probably his most famous piece, is that. Then you have again this wonderful grayscale image here. There's a cherub. There's an angel here who's got a compass in her hand. Again, this fascination with measurement. And you've got tools down here and a globe. And that's the Adam and Eve I was telling you about, which caused it caused a bit of a riot, in so much that he was asked to leave. The commissions he had at that time were cancelled due to this image. Now, I'm not sure why, and like I say, I'm not going to offend anybody by making a guess. All I can do is tell you what's on the picture. There is a bird of paradise here on a twig that Adam's holding, and it's got Albrecht Durer's name on it, and then a bit of Latin underneath. Then of course you've got a really thin branch of a tree covering his manhood, and the same with Eve. But if I were him, I'd be a bit ashamed. That's only a little Scotty leaf, that, ain't it? But the image, I don't know if you can quite see, there's a deer that's blended in the background here, and it's just behind the tree. Fascinating stuff. I'm not sure what or who has been offended by this, but like I said, that's the story behind it. Is that a house cat as well? Yeah, just the run-of-the-mill random house cat here, and a mouse, a cat and a mouse. So the serpent here with the apple, she's holding another apple. I'm intrigued what the offence is. Somebody might be able to tell me in the comments. There may be a lot more open. I know it's the forbidden fruit and everything, but that had already been done. So I'm not sure why this offended so many people in the church, but it did. Then you've got another etching here of his work, which looks like the Last Supper, or similar to. Mr. Durer's not afraid of putting himself in the limelight at all. He's put his emblem etched into the floor of the table that they sat on. And then you've got Mr. C here with, I'm not sure who, I'm not going to get involved with that. So, you've all seen the Da Vinci Code, you've all seen what shape that is, and you can make your own guesses who that is on his lap. This is beautiful. I mean, how cool is that? It's a beast with almost like a werewolf with serpents coming out of his head. And he's talking to this knight in shining armour on this horse, which is very, very pristine. The horse that the beast is on is all straggly and forlorn. You've got skulls on the floor. So again, you've got the opposites there, really. And then you've got this very pronounced chap in the suit of armour with a flag, which is not the Italian flag anyway. It looks like the St. George's Cross. So again, I wouldn't like to hazard a guess what that was, but there's a creature here that's unidentifiable in my knowledge. And then you have a chap kneeling down praying here, looking up to the skies. And you have a load of pigs around him, which is pretty cool. And then you got all these wooden houses. Quite a peaceful picture, that one. Then you have this written in Latin. There's a year there. Not sure if that would be 1511, is it? I'm not too sure. You got all these really big leather-bound books here that are lockable. And then you got the chap that's doing some ink drawing or writing. I presume the scripture he's writing is up here, and whatever that means in Latin. And then you have this godlike creature again. This godlike figure again, which seems to be pulling Jesus from the cross. There's a hole in the foot, in both feet. He's obviously died on the cross and he's on his way back up to heaven by the look of that. If I'm wrong, or it offends anybody, I do apologise. I know that that's a self-portrait of Albrecht Durer. He was 25 there. I know that it doesn't say on here, but he was 25 on that image. And this is an etching of into silver again. It's quite unique where he's put his emblem this time. It's on a piece of what looks like jewellery of some kind on the floor. And then you've got this old man praying to the angel, asking for forgiveness. And you've got a shepherd here looking on with all the sheep. There's Albrecht's tag there, look, on a chain link. Oh, can you see that? Yeah, that's better. It's here, ADT there. And then this is 1516. This is done on silver. I'm not going to comment on what I think that is. It is being transported by a unicorn. Then you have this naked lady here who is almost turning into a mermaid. I mean, no, I stand corrected. The chap is the sea creature. Is it? I want to say Neptune, but I'm not sure if that's him or not. But he's holding a turtle shell as a shield, and then you've got this naked lady who's being embraced by the fish god, or whatever you want to call it. You know, the holy trout, or whatever he is. And then you've got somebody on the bank, obviously displeased that these are making their way off. Really, really fascinating artwork, it really is. Then you have what looks to be a chap with dwarfism here in such an early time, and he's, I don't know if he's the servant or he's asking for some assistance or not. Then you have possibly Mr. C here. I don't know if you can see that image. You know, it doesn't lend itself to be very, you know, pure anyway. We'll ignore that one. Okay, then you've got possibly Mary on the donkey. I'm not sure, but all this forestry in the background is gorgeous. really is. Then you have a beggar outside the castle, and the castle's detail is just magnificent. It really is. This was done in 1519, so that's probably in the middle of his career. You have probably Satan here because he's got a hoofed foot with horns. I think he's possibly Satan, I'm not 100% sure. Or Hades, one of them. You got this lady who with her clothes off, and you got this chap aiming his spear, and the woman just about to hit this other woman, who's probably being called a harlot. Is that what they used in them days? Harlot? This is back to the silver stuff. You've got the man and his lion again. He looks to be struggling with the lion at this point. I'm not sure about that one. Then we have a chap on his knees talking to the horse. You've got some really cute dogs here that look like greyhounds or whippets. Beautiful scenery in the background. There's a stag there just in the middle of those trees. And then you have an old man here clambering to the well, and he's getting some water, and you've got Mary again and Jesus here. She's praying, and there's a man in the background praying, and that must be the manger. You can see that, can you? No, you can't. It's there anyway. Sorry, the angle of this is rubbish today. I can't quite get it right. Give that a go. Back to the silver again. Cherubs in the sky. You've got this empty barn, manger, should I say? Sorry. You've got the star here that they've all been following. 3 wise men in the doorway, and you've got Mary, Jesus. And then you've got this chap approaching. I think that's meant to be Jesus again. Again, don't quote me on that. Then you have the old man, possibly Moses, that you know, trekking through what could be the Nile. Not 100% sure, but... And then you've got Mary again, and you have this chap giving her some solace. I think that's Jesus. Again, I'm not 100% sure, and I don't want to offend anybody, so... But it does show you God up there, look again. Or who Albert Durer depicts as God anyway, floating around in the top, just watching what's going on. And then you have that image again where it shows you the guy writing, but instead of the Latin being here, it tells you a little bit about pomegranate. So I'm sorry that was a bit long and arduous, but I am so impressed with that book. Whether I touch it in colour or not is immaterial. I'm so glad I got it. The artwork in here is quite sensational, and you know, just to cover all ground again, for somebody to have that type of imagination with no form of reference at all is quite beyond belief. So was a very popular flip through request. So that's that one. And then we have Watercolour with Me in the Forest by Donna Fox. Now, there are flip throughs of this on YouTube, so I'm not going to go into depth with it. But what it is a tutorial book for using watercolour. And it kind of gives you the different methods, which is wet and dry, wet on wet, ink and wash, that kind of thing. But what it does do, it tells you exactly what you need. The paper is absolutely luxurious. So you've got the images here, you can barely see them. Those are the acorns. And then on the text page here, it tells you what colours you need, and it tells you what stage to do which bit and fill which part of the acorn to get all this effect on the images there. And I found it really interesting. Same again with this caterpillar, if you can see that. And then obviously the painted one is here. Colours required are there. And it goes through the book very much like that. So I'm not going to go in depth with it because you can. I've seen at least three or four other reviews of this book. It wasn't asked for a flip through, it was asked to be shown because apparently last time I showed the cover you could only see half of it. So that is Watercolour with Me in the Forest by Donna. You can see how thick that book is. It's excellent quality, and again, I'm such a sucker for quality books wise. You know, whether I use them or not is irrelevant, purely because I like collecting the books, you know, and I can get just as much enjoyment looking through them. So that's that one. Okay, then so there's no more flip throughs now. Then I was working away, and I came across quite by chance really a Hobbycraft, and I thought, oh well, I'll have to go in there as you do. So the first thing I picked up there was this pack of 3 metallic markers made by Hobbycraft. It's got their logo on the barrel. Gold, silver and bronze. And then I got a set of 12 portrait markers made by Spectra. Now, while I was in the store, I looked up the reviews on these and the colours and everything. And for what I paid for them, these, I don't know if you can see the tones there and the undertones that you've got. Quite magnificent, and I think they were £15 for 12. So I got those, and then I got some of this shimmer paint, and I don't know if you can see the two-tone effect it's got here and the swirl, but I thought that would be ideal for ocean scenes, galaxy scenes, that kind of thing. And it were very inexpensive, and then there's a purple to go with it here, both from Hobbycraft. So I got those. I'm looking forward to giving those a go. Then I got this very cheap 6-slot palette, which was £1, but I thought this would be very good for if you are using your water brush pens. I like the Artisas. And you're wanting to thin it out a little bit, because of the way that these pans slant, you can always have a well of water in the bottom and it wouldn't affect the colours that you're dragging up to the top. So I thought that was quite a good idea to use your Artisa water brush pens, or any other water brush pens. I got this really small pack of sparkle and shimmer poster paint, similar to the Stickle. These are a set of 12. I'll open these for you so you can see these, because there are 2 rows of them. So we've got very, very much Christmas colours in here. So we have a little pot of copper bronze colour. We have a gold colour. We have, that's more of a copper colour, so the other one will be bronze, I think. Then we have silver. Then we have another form of gold, another shade of gold. Then we have metallic grey. And then we have glitter silver, glitter gold, We've got glitter, which is almost like a mulled wine colour, and if you can see that. Then we have the glitter green, which is very Christmassy, the glitter blue, and the glitter red. And again, they were very inexpensive, but I thought with the mass influx of Christmas books that will be coming out, these will do perfect for backgrounds. And like I said, they were very, very inexpensive, so I got those. Then I got, these were pre-ordered, which I won't do a flip through, everybody's seen them. I got Geomorphia whilst I was away, that was delivered for me. And then I got Gnomes in the Neighbourhood. I particularly like this book. I liked the other two, and this one is quite, it's got a ring of humour to it, let's put it that way. So I'm looking forward to working in them. If anybody wants to do a buddy colour with me in either of those two books, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to oblige with that. Be interesting to get other people's perspective on a picture. And then I've got, I picked this up from, no, I beg your pardon, this one was a pre-order as well. Everyone's seen this Cute Witches Jade Summer. If you do want a more in-depth flip through, then I'm happy to do that. But I think there are loads online. But if you want one from me, just give us a shout. Now these three books here were bought in Hobbycraft. They're very, very well made. So of course, you know, my eyes went straight to these. And this is the Cute Chibi Christmas colouring book. Let me get this. Right, there we go. This is the Cute Chibi Christmas colouring book. I have had a request for a flip through from this. I'm not going to go in depth with it because I have got quite a lot to show. So I'm just going to do a slow flick here. And you can see all the images. They're proper cute. The paper's extremely good. The book is really solid. And of course there were three of them, so I got all three. Absolutely great. And I hadn't really known much about Christopher Hart until I started reading about him, and he's sold over 7 million books because he does books on how to draw as well. And then I look very macho with this book, don't you think? Girl power, but I'm not bothered. The quality is something else. It reminds me a little bit of Carmen D, whatever her name is, work. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So I'll be using markers and paints and stuff like that in there. So that's another one of Christopher Hart's. And then there was this one, which is Manga Girls. Unfortunately, they didn't have a Manga Boys, so I had to attack my masculinity again and go to the till with this in my hand. But it doesn't bother me. The images are absolutely gorgeous. As you can see, hours of fun there colouring in those. So if anybody wants a flip through of one of those three, you're more than welcome. They're all by Christopher Hart. This is the girls manga artist colouring book. The next one is the Girl Power manga artist colouring book. And the third and final one is the Cute Chibi Christmas colouring book. And it describes this as being adorable manga characters to colour. So that was those. I've been, I watch quite a lot of people online, some more than others. But one of the people I watch quite a lot of is Colour and Chat with Sammy. And I've often seen her keep delving back to this little book that she's got, this reference book. And I spoke to her about it, and the stuff she's got in there is so handy. I thought to myself, I'm not going to bother with this Jade Summer Swatch book, because you can do everything on some decent paper in a book, but then you've got room to do the combinations, any other sort of things that you get on those particular combos, and leave room for it later on. You can do your own swatching, etc, etc. So what I did was, I got this book. It's an A3 size book, and then I've started doing the swatches in here. I might as well show you them now. So this is from, so I started with this. This is just, as you can see on here, these are the Holbeins, which I've got here. I wasn't going to show them till last, but because I've shown you the swatches, the Holbeins came the day before yesterday.